guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you my current brow routine, and I do have a couple of variations of it. So I'm actually going to do both brows, each brow in a different way. On one brow, I'm going to be using the NYX Tame and Frame Tinted Brow Pomade and the NYX Tinted Brow Mascara, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder Duo, and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel. So first I'm going to zoom you in and show you kind of where my brows are at as far as hair growth and everything. I have done all I finished all my makeup, but I did not do my brows. I'm going to show you kind of how I know when it's time to trim them and how I clean them up a little bit with scissors and tweezers. And then we'll go ahead and talk about shape and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna zoom you in and we'll get started. Okay, so as you can see, my brows are pretty full. I do have a good amount of brow hair naturally. So I'm not doing the job of drawing on my brows. I'm just kind of making them look more filled in and complete. So I'm going to go ahead and brush up all the hairs using just a regular old spoolie and show you how I know that it's time for me to trim my brows. If I sound weird, it's because I'm still getting over a sickness. I'm on all kinds of meds, so I already finished the antibiotics, so hopefully I'll be feeling better soon. So do you see how when I brush my hairs up, there are hairs that are well above the line of where I want my brows to go? So all I do is I take a pair of tiny little scissors. These ones came with a nail kit, but they work just fine. And I brush them up and I trim whatever is outside of that brow area. And I do this about once every couple of weeks just to make sure. And then I do the same thing on the outer part. I brush them out. And then I just kind of lightly trim up whatever is outside of that area. Then I take my tweezers and I'll neaten up the hairs that are like underneath the brow, like on this white area. So I always pull in the same direction as the hair grows, and I try to grip it from as close to the root as I can, and then just pull swiftly. These are angled tweezers. If you can tell, they're like at an angle instead of straight edge, and that to me helps me grab things. They have more of a point. Now that's most of the maintenance that I have to do. I will have a few hairs in here to grab, but nothing too major. And then I try not to pluck very much on the upper side of the brow, but I do a little bit here and there as needed. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll brush all the hairs downwards. Instead of, like last time I did them all up, now I'm going to brush them all down. And then see all the hairs that come out of the line there. You see all these hairs here that I can trim? And that doesn't mean you have to trim them exactly even with the rest of the brow hairs in line. It just means that there's where you have some bushiness that you could take out. And then I just brush all of the hairs back in line. And then on this brow, I'm going to go ahead and do my NYX Tame and Frame. And I actually have dark hair, but I use it in blonde. And so it's just like a little pot, very similar to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade. This one is a little bit more fluid. I have the brow pomade by Anastasia in chocolate. This I got in blonde because I feel like it doesn't look as dramatic. So you can use whatever small brush you like for filling in your brows with pomade. These are some of mine. They're all dirty at the moment. You can use an angled one. It really depends on your personal preference and what's clean at the moment, honestly. And also how big your brows are. My brows are already there, so I don't really have to worry about it. But what I do is I start about 1/4 of the brow over. I don't start right here in the beginning of the eyebrow. I start about here and go out. And I'm just filling them in with this blonde color. Now you see how you can barely tell it's there? That's what I like. Honestly, I was so sick of having really defined brows. And I find this like refreshing because I don't have to be as particular. I am going to go over this with the brow mascara. But this is just making any bald spots in the brow have something underneath them. So it's dyeing the skin sort of underneath the brow hairs this blonde color. So rather than my skin color, it's just going to be a couple of shades darker than my natural skin tone. And then I take what's left on the brush and I take it in the front brow hairs, and I, instead of going like left and right through these hairs, on the front section I go upwards. And I don't have as much product left on the brush by the time I get up here. And so it gives me a nice fade and a more gradual look, and so it's not as harsh in the front part. Then I go in with the NYX Tinted Brow Mascara in Brunette. No. Yes, Brunette. The NYX Tinted Brow Mascara in Brunette. And it is just a mascara wand. So again, I start from about a quarter of the way over. And I just brush this mascara through my brows. If you have really fine brows, you may not like this product. And here I am again, I'm going upwards for these hairs. This is just coating the natural brow hairs that you already have with mascara. If you don't have natural brow hairs and yours are almost all artificial, drawn in, you're not going to want to do this. You're going to want to stick to something more like a pomade or a powder and then a pomade on top to set it. Okay, so now can you see the difference between the two brows? The one that is done just looks more polished, a little bit more full, but still natural. And the one that's not done just looks a little bit disheveled. So on this brow here, I'm going to go ahead and trim just like I showed you before. But also you can always take a spoolie if you feel like it's come on too heavy, and you can always brush out what you just did. And then just take your concealer and clean up any edges if you get it anywhere besides where you want it. But I'm going to go ahead and trim up and tweeze this brow. So here are a couple of tips for shaping your brow. This isn't foolproof, it doesn't work for everybody, but what you can do is take a pencil or something like a brush and place it at like the outer part of your nose and go up. That's where your brow should start. If you take your pencil at the corner of your nose and go through the center of your pupil, that's where your brow should arch. And then if you take the same pencil right at the corner of your nose to the outer corner of your eye, that's where your brow should end. Those don't work necessarily on everyone. It really depends on the proportions of your eye, of your nose to your brow, but it's a good starting point. So if you're curious, you know, hey, does my brow do I take my brow too long over here on the side? Do this test. Corner of the nose to the corner of the eye. If your brow keeps going, it's too long. Okay, so once you have that done, on the second eye I'm going to go ahead and use a powder. So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills medium brown brow powder duo. And on this one, there are two shades. There's a darker shade and a lighter shade. So I use the darker shade on the outer, like 2/3 of the brow, and then on the inner third of the brow, I use the lighter shade. So I'm going to use a similar brush to the one we just used with a dip brow pomade. Okay, then I go in with the lightest color using the same brush, and I use that just on the front of the brow to make a lighter start. And so now they're almost even. This one may be coming across a little bit darker, but then I go in with a clear brow gel. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills clear brow gel. NYX also has a great one. I think it's called Control Freak. And I just brush the hairs up, and then I brush them all over. And the great thing is, okay, so here are a couple of tips for shaping your brow. It doesn't really leave it too much of a mess. It doesn't work for everybody behind. What you can do is take a pencil or something like a brush and place it at like the outer part of your nose. I'll show you how I use concealer to carve out. That's where your brow should start, to clean them up a little bit. I'm going to carve out underneath the brow. This is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer in NC20. I'm just putting a pump here on my hand. You really don't need much of this stuff at all. Then I'm taking a flat brush. You can use like a little tiny, like a lip brush. You can use whatever works for you. And I'm actually just going to carve out beneath the brow. And I do wipe off the excess from the brush onto my hand. I don't need much. And I find that when I carve out above the brow, it actually starts looking a little bit overdone. So just cleaning up the underside goes a long way in making them look clean and highlighted and lifted. And no, I don't normally do my eyeshadow first. Usually I do this before the eyeshadow. Then you can set that with a powder if you want, like a whiter bone colored eyeshadow or white eyeshadow. So those are 2 ways that I fill in my eyebrows. Like I said, there are like 5 different ways, and then there are 5 different types of products pretty much. Pomade, clear brow gel, tinted brow gel or brow mascara, powder, and a brow pencil. And they have brow pencils that are really creamy and brow pencils that are more firm, and then they even have tinted brow mascaras like the Benefit Gimme Brow. There's a few other ones on the market that add false fibers to your already existing brows. So there are a ton of different ways to do your brows. I actually do mine a different way like half the time. Like I've been doing more of the first brow method that I showed you, but I do them all of the above. Lately I've been loving the NYX Tame and Frame with the tinted brow mascara, but I do have almost all of those products, so I do change it up here and there as I get bored or want to change up my look, depending on how bushy my eyebrows are at the moment, that kind of stuff. But if you want to see a video on me doing the other methods, other techniques using other products, let me know. I can also do them really super dramatic, and I can like outline the bottom, outline the top, fill them in with a different color, use 3 different colors throughout the brow so they fade. I mean, you can do tons of stuff with them, but basically I just like the way this one looks. It's still natural, it's not super dark, but it looks polished and kind of refined. I don't want anyone to like have a thought when they're looking at my face, like those brows ... whether it's they're too heavy, they're too light, they're too dark colored, or they're too bushy or too thin or whatever. I don't want anyone to ever have a thought about my brows, so I try to make them just look kind of natural, but better than natural in my opinion. So if you guys want to see the other videos, let me know what you any questions you have, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful, hope you learned something, and let me know what some of your favorite brow products are. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.